In a few of my videos, I may have, said stuff such as like, you know, understanding when people can become so busy that they don't have time to read the scriptures. And, a lot of people could be like, "Oh, that's not right. You can't just like dismiss that and stuff like that." And that's true. You can't dismiss that. And, you know, I I can understand what it's like to be busy. And I can understand what it's like to get mistreated by a lot of those who, in some ways, are devoted to Christ, and yet they don't love their brothers and sisters. They don't walk in understanding. They don't walk in love. If anything, they walk in like a pious, religious kind of way, to where I guess they may think that, they're not touched by their flesh, even though they are, even though they're dealing with their own weaknesses. They, instead of looking at their own weaknesses, they look at the weaknesses of others and trash them. I have been, treated like that by a lot of religious people. And I'm not talking about, religious, like all these different religions. I'm talking about the religious as, modern day Pharisees. You know, you you look at the letter of the law, but you deny the heart of it. And your Jesus said to them that you're like, whitewashed sepulchres. You clean on the outside, but inside you're full of dead men's bones and all corruption. I mean, how much corruption is in the religious? And we see examples like that, that of many churches that, condemn people of the world. And, they're that's not what Jesus came to do. He didn't came to condemn. He came to seek and save the lost. Why would he ever be in the position of these so-called religious people when his mission was to seek and save the lost? When you're condemning people, you're not seeking and saving them. If anything, if he took that route, people would have never been saved, because people wouldn't have been attracted to him. But they were attracted to the life that he had. They were attracted to what he said. And he said, it says in scripture that, that he spoke in such a way and not like their religious teachers. When I said what I said in the videos about understanding when people can become so busy that they don't have time to read scripture, I was saying that because I know what it's like to be criticized by people. I know what it's like to feel condemned by people. I know what it's like to feel like you're not measuring up to the expectations of those around you. In my early Christian walk, I felt like I never measured up, that I had a ways to go in order to be satisfactory in the eyes of the religious. So why bother? No matter what you do, you're never going to find, you're never going to be pleasing to everyone. There's always going to be someone that has a problem with you. So, like I am reiterating, is that I know what it's like to be criticized by the religious. I know what it's like to be condemned. I know what it's like when you know, you're set up to make these vows that you're going to do, read so many scriptures a day, or you're going to spend time with God more, or you're going to do this, or you're going to do that. And when things come up, it takes that vow away, and then you feel like you have failed God. I know what it's like to be in that. I recall a few brothers, and uh, they were reading this pamphlet about, I think it was the call, and that's a great thing to go to where you're worshiping God, you're with other believers. But in that pamphlet, it was like in there you had to make a vow that you're not going to look lustfully at a woman. I mean, yeah, that's a great thing to, shoot for. But what if you make a mistake? Then you're going to feel condemned, So it's best never to make vows like that. If anything, God will help you in that to get you to the place that you need to. Well, if you mess up the first time, or there's next time. God knows how many times until you're going to finally get it. So, there's always a way to be able to get scripture in. There is always a way to spend time with God. And, how many breaks would you have at work in which you can read scripture? Or on the way to work, there are online Bibles that you can listen to. You could put that on as you're heading to work. I do that sometimes myself. When I get so inundated, because here, sometimes I leave early to do deliveries, and usually I'm out until like the evening. So there is always time to read the scriptures. So usually I go to the YouVersion of the Bible online, and I'll listen to a few verses and then I think about them. There's also CDs that you can get. There is also the Bible on YouTube that you can listen to as well. So there's always a way to be able to read scripture. And as far as spending time with God, what really helps me is writing down a list of people to pray for. So, while you're in your car driving, or maybe you're on a break, pull out that list of people that you can pray for. And, that can, set you in that place to where you're in God's presence. Always thanking Him for everything that He has done and what He has done in your life and what He's going to do. So, I just recall, what it's like, what in Keith Green's book that was written by his wife called No Compromise. He had these aspirations of, reading so many chapters a day. And then when he didn't, he felt like he really failed God, that, he was backsliding. And really, I don't want anyone to feel that way. But God's mercies are new every day. There's always a fresh chance, to do what you need to do. Always remembering God's love, that He loves you, that He's not going to leave or forsake you. That no matter what you do, Jesus had already completed it on the cross and in His redemption of us. So He is perfecting us. With some, it may be slow. With some, maybe that God leads quickly, to mold them to become more like Him. So I just wanted to share that with you. I pray that this is an encouragement.